Hey guys, how's it going? It is Kire here with another Infinite Magicraid video, and in today's video we got the most predictable issues that we could have possibly imagined here in the new patch update. So we just went live, we have the new version of campaign with the harder difficulty, and I think everyone was expecting with this that it was going to be too difficult and there was going to be some kind of arbitrary gate that was going to cause it mainly just too difficult, like we saw with Elemental City, like we see with Faction Abyss, like we see with the current dungeons. That is the ongoing trend with every possible thing in this game. And then on top of that, there's an issue with food and getting enough resources to build the heroes that we've already paid for. So not only that, they've doubled down on the two issues that are going on currently in the game. One being that things are too difficult, and then on top of that, they are making it where you need more characters, because the buff in this situation relies on you having multiple characters of a particular faction. It's like Faction Abyss 2.0, and the initial Faction Abyss is too hard. And as you're going to see in this, I'm on stage 1 when it comes to the Sword Harbor Guards. You need to be able to have 5 of them, and I've really invested into one particular faction, which just so happens to be Sword Harbor Guards, and I have all 5 characters, good characters, all built out, and I barely can beat Faction Abyss level 24, and then I get actually crushed completely with all 5 buffs here in the new version of campaign in the faction where in stage 1, 4, I believe, where all of it needs to be Sword Harbor Guards. I have all 5 Sword Harbor Guards, I have all the buffs, and I still get completely destroyed. So let's take a look here. I'm going to go on the computer and I'll show you guys just how this update is. Okay, so here we are, and let's actually go through a couple of the matches here and just look at these power levels. I think that's a really good indicator of just how difficult things are in this game. For example, and also we do got to take it with a grain of salt because we get these buffs. So the first thing is going to be the dungeon effects here. Grants all allies attribute bonuses based on the number of Sword Harbor Guards heroes deployed. So if I have 1, you get defense plus 200%. Then if I have 2, crit damage. Then 3, mastery. Then 4 looks like just damage res. So I was assuming this was going to be like effect res. But damage resistance, that's nice when you get 4. And then finally you get effect hit at number 5. And then as you're going to see here, this is the most important. Just to be really annoying, they made the effect hit the one that you need all 5 characters for, which is going to be incredibly difficult because based on the issue 1 when it comes to food. So then massive problem there. Normally it wouldn't be. You would think, oh, here's 100 bonus effect hit, but then what they did is they cranked up the effect res of all these characters. And then to my previous point about the power of these heroes here, because we're getting all these bonuses, this power level you can take with a grain of salt because we're going to be stronger too. So I'm not going to be at my typical 608,000. I'm going to be way stronger because I'm getting all these bonuses here because I have all the Sword Harbor Guard characters. But this power level is absolutely wild just in general, even with these bonuses. Because if you want to take a look, let's go to something already incredibly difficult that I haven't beaten yet, which is Faction Abyss 25. So I go here to Sword Harbor Guards, and then we go to Faction Abyss 25, and is 1.5 million. So this right here, already too difficult to beat at 1.5 million. Then I go to campaign in stage 4. This is not even the final stage, and it is 2.3, which is just absurd. Right there is already incredibly difficult. I have all the buffs, but let's take a look at certain factions that I wouldn't have all of the heroes for, because you're going to need 5 heroes for it, and I specifically went out of my way to get all 5 heroes for it, and I really focused on Faction Abyss. I really wanted to target that. But let's say I want to go to this one. I don't even know which one this is, like what effect I need, but I need a Wizard's Eye. So I would need Wizard's Eye heroes, and because they cranked up the effect resistance of the enemies, then when I go here to add Wizard's Eye characters, for example, let's go here and we had these characters. Let's say I didn't have him, or let's say I want to actually do anything with this guy and apply bleeds, but I can't because I would need all 5 of these heroes ready to go and built just to get the enough effect hit to actually land those debuffs. So this is another faction that I really invested into, but let's actually see how far I can go. So I have the 5 heroes, but I don't have them built. And then I go here to this one. I need foresters. So how far am I going to get with foresters? I'm going to get absolutely crushed, because if I go to foresters here, let's see how many I actually got built up. I have 0 foresters built up, let alone to get enough to the damage resistance or the effect hit. And also this 60% damage resistance, I still get one shot. It's still terrible. It's still too hard. And then they have said that they are going to be nerfing the difficulty, but this is something that they could have discovered instantly. They chose to do this and then they just waited for pushback. They didn't actually, they don't care. They've known that this was too difficult, and then they wanted us to say so, and then they'll revert it instead of just setting it at a fair difficulty from from the beginning. But let's actually try to beat this. I just want you guys to see this in real time as I'm trying to do this. So I'm going to target the Zia to make sure, because that's going to be the enemy here. They have the attack up already, which is incredibly difficult. As you can see, boom, he's already dead. And then we can go to the stats here, 190% effect res. So when I get the 100% bonus, so for example, I have 154, I really only have like 50. I have negative 50 effect hit. And then over here, I have 172. And then with this character here at 90%, I have minus 22. It's like they have a permanent effect res debuff on me at all times, whether it be effect res 1 or res 2. And then with Sigmund, how much do I got? This is a character I really stack effect hit on, 200%. So then I barely have, enough to be able to handle that. So like, it's just ridiculous in my opinion on how much that they're pushing this. I think the big thing that really bothers me is that they put the effect hit where you get 100 at the final tier. They really need to change this. Well, there's so many things they need to change. I think the damage is too crazy. Like everything in this game, the damage is too crazy. It's not even fun. Like what is the point of this? Like when it comes to this, where I'm always just in constant fear of getting one shot. That is not difficulty. That is not something that's actually fun to do. You know what this reminds me of? It's Halo 2. If you guys ever played Halo 2 and what they did with the legendary category in Halo 2, where if you guys are not familiar with the development of that game, what they were doing is they rushed it out. They didn't have enough time to actually make all the tiers in campaign. So what they did is they just arbitrarily boosted the numbers in campaign to make it incredibly difficult, which when you play the game, it's very difficult to play because everyone could one-shot you. Like you have the jackals that snipe you. It's stupid. It's not fun. There's no engaging counterplay there. What it is just an artificial difficulty because they were in a rush and wanted to crank something out because they didn't have any time left. These guys do. They intentionally develop a situation that another company would do accidentally. Like if they had a reasonable amount of time, they would have made the difficulty more in line with like Halo 3 or Halo 1, for example. Whereas this game, they designed it intentionally. So they don't even want people to have fun. Like there's one thing to be said about a hard challenge that is difficult but fair, and we have to work to achieve that. There's a whole nother thing entirely when it comes to the difficulty in this game, where it's just one shot after one shot. And it makes the builds incredibly restrictive. It makes the team comps very limited to only a certain amount of heroes. It makes our builds incredibly limited to only a certain amount of things. So it's not engaging and fun. Yes, it's difficult, but it is difficult in despite of all the other things that make a game. And that is my big problem so far. And then these are not all new things. These are all predictable things. Like I knew not to get excited about this because it was incredibly predictable that they would do this. And if they happen to go out of their way to nerf the difficulty, that'd be great. But please nerf other things too, because for example, Faction Abyss, they said that they were going to nerf the difficulty of Faction Abyss. The nerf went through and it was easier, but then they reverted it like 2 hours later, like right before that reset. And then they've never talked about it again. They've never actually reverted, and that's months ago. So it's just issue after issue. And then the food issue, they said that they're going to be fixing that when it comes to a login and stuff like that. But that's like so far into the future. And then all that's going to do is just start the progress of more resources to slowly accrue. This is getting off topic, but my whole point is this is just incredibly frustrating. They have a whole new patch here, and then they just want to make it incredibly difficult for the sake of, if people are motivated, like I think everyone loses here too, because they do this and then I can't imagine whales going out of their way to spend money to try to beat this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are spending a ton of money doing this and they are laughing all the way to the bank, but I just doubt it. I just don't think that this is the strategy to make money for a company, and I also don't think this is a strategy to make it a fun and engaging game that people want to play. So that is my problem currently with this new system. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts down below, and with that, guys, I am out of here. Peace.